Well, joining us for our TV showrunners panel now is Lee Eisenberg for Little America on Apple TV Plus. I am Marcus James Dixon of Gold Derby. And Lee, I just absolutely love this little gem of a show. It's an anthology series, each episode being about a different, true story of an immigrant living in America. How did you guys all come up with this idea?
I, as writers do, was sitting around trying to come up with what my next show was going to be, and I started thinking about the shows that I was really getting excited about as a viewer, as a fan, and I was thinking a lot about Better Things. I was thinking about Master of None. I had just finished working on Smilf, and there was an episode of Master of None in the first season about, I think it was called Parents, and it was about these immigrants that two sets of immigrants that had come, and the relations with their kids and what their kids understood and what their kids didn't understand about their plight. And my father's from Israel, and I go to Israel every year, and I have a relationship to that, but I never really, he's told me stories, but I never quite had the kind of the way in for that. And I just started thinking about the way people were talking about that Parents episode and about my dad's experiences. And I thought, what if there was a series where every episode was that, and that it didn't feel special or exceptional, that that characters that didn't look like characters that were usually starring in TV shows were kind of in the foreground. And that was really the germ of it. And I went to Epic Magazine and Josh Bierman, who's a friend of mine, and he said, what if we did first-person photo essays, and started tracking down the stories. And then I called Alan Yang, who was a friend. I called Kumail and Emily, and all of a sudden, I'd never worked on anything where the first person that occurred to me that I wanted to kind of collaborate with just immediately said yes. And A, they were all friends of mine, and B, they were just people whose works I'd loved over the years. And all of a sudden we were just working together and talking stories and sharing experiences. It was really, it's been amazing.
And can you talk a little more about that casting process? Because, other than a few notable exceptions like Zachary Quinto or Tom McCarthy, most of the actors are people we've never seen before. They're plucked from obscurity, but you're giving them the most wonderful playground in which to, show their stuff.
Yeah, as much as possible, we really tried to cast people from the countries of origin, or children of immigrants, and there are all these amazing discoveries, and there are also things that you don't expect, like Uganda is very difficult it's hard to get visas, and the village where they were casting out of, the power went out, and we weren't able to, we lost several days dealing with that. And so there were challenges, but the rewards for it were so great, because the stories felt so intimate, and they felt almost, I don't want to say docu-style, but you didn't have any baggage that an actor was attached to. When you see someone that you recognize, you're like, oh, wow, it's great that they're disappearing into this role. With this, if you didn't recognize them, it felt like the first time that you ever get to see someone that you got to get to see someone's first role. And some of these actors had been around, and they hadn't, talking to Haas and Sean Tube, one was in the Syrian episode, one was in the Persian episode. If you look at their IMDb, sorry, I have bugs, so I'm just going to go like this a lot. If you look at their IMDb, it was like, one was the bad guy in Homeland, the other one was the bad guy in Jack Ryan, and they just hadn't played scenes where they were sitting around with their family, and there was music and dancing and love. And I just think that you got to see people. I don't know, the casting process was so kind of enlightening and exciting, because for us it was, we would start sending emails back and forth, like, oh my God, did you see the guy, like Confidants, who plays the Nigerian cowboy? We all saw his audition separately, and then just the text chain of producers, it was like wildfire, because everyone was like, oh, if you haven't seen this, you stop everything you're doing. This guy is the biggest star that you don't know yet.
And how challenging is it to essentially create 8 individual movies with 8 casts, 8 stories, 8 periods of time for the whole season? It's not a normal show.
It is not. I think I was just saying today I'm working on a project, and I said, you write something and you're kind of like, all right, well, someone will figure it out, and you don't really think about it as you kind of conceive of it. And then I've never gotten more emails than during the 4 months of shooting Little America, because there are period pieces. So there's wardrobe, there's cultural consultants, there's dialect coaches, and authenticity and kind of the texture of the specificity of it were so important to the show. And it was just, I'm really proud of what we did, but there are just a million decisions, and everything was happening at once. And as I'm sure the other panelists, shooting a pilot is really challenging, and making a movie is hard. And we were almost doing that process concurrently, so there was no overlap. And we shot mostly in New Jersey. We shot one on a cruise ship. We shot one in Montreal. It was just a different director for every episode. So there's just you never were able to quite get into the rhythms that you do when you're on episode 6 of a show.
And how much discussion went into the order of the episodes? I think you chose a brilliant one to start off, The Manager. I think The Manager is my favorite. But how did you decide which episodes went where? Was it kind of like putting a jigsaw puzzle together?
For us, it was. It felt very much. I felt like like back to being in middle school and making mixtapes, and like really kind of being so specific about what song could come after which song. And we spent hours debating it, all the producers and Apple, and then and we second guessed it, and we really were so happy and proud of the order. And then as friends and family started watching it, they were like, "Oh, I watched the Chinese episode," and you're like, "Oh, what'd you think of the other ones?" Like, "Oh, that's the only one I've watched so far. I can't wait to watch the others." And it was like, "No, we made an order. We spent hours. Did I not need to spend hours?" So people just kind of watched it. They would get excited about a title or maybe a country or something, and nobody adhered to our very carefully curated playlist. So I appreciate that you did.
Yeah, I just let Apple, kind of go into the next one as the credits are rolling. It's saying it's, the next one is beginning now, and I just let it play as it was meant to.
Thank you.
Each episode is based on a true story, so I'm curious how many of the original subjects were involved in the productions. I know the little boy in the Grand Prize Expo, the cruise ship episode, he is now a filmmaker, and he wrote and directed that episode, I believe. Was there any other examples of that?
That was the only one where we brought Z in for a general. We just we liked an indie film that he had made, and so we thought, okay, maybe he can do an episode. And he started telling one of the producers about the story about him and his mom driving through a blizzard to go to this travel expo, and we thought, let's do that as an episode. For the other ones, we were talking to some of the subjects. Some of them wanted to be more involved. Hollywood's a strange place, and different people have different relationships to the idea of their stories being told. Everyone in the end ultimately was really happy with it, but some people didn't really want to be involved. Some people wanted to be more involved. We had a few of the people come by sets. A bunch of them came to the premiere, and it was also just amazing to see the actors interact with their the real life counterpart. And the show isn't. We always we were careful to say it's inspired by. It's not a moment by moment recounting of someone's life. We compress timelines a lot. We compress characters, but really what we tried to do is maintain the essence of their story, and whether it was a struggle, and that was the thing that we really tried to stay. That was the thing kind of in the writer's room that was kind of our North Star, and I think and it was so terrifying to know that the people were seeing it. I'd never worked on anything like this before, and these are not people that are in the public eye, and they have no experience with most of them had no experience with Hollywood at all. And getting the feedback that they watched it, that they cried, that they showed it to their families was really great.
Well, I just wanted to end by saying, after watching the whole season, I came away thinking so much more hopeful for America, because the past few years have been kind of tough for a lot of people. And I'm just wondering, did you have a similar experience? After it was all done, did you love America even more than you did when you started?
Maybe. I think that I just connected to those characters. I mean, I think as a storyteller, we never wanted the show to feel political, but just the act of making the show in a way felt political. And the way that immigrants are talked about in the news. It just feels like this mass is descending on our borders, taking jobs. And it's what we found, and what I knew and what the other producers knew, was that everyone just goes through the same things, and everyone wants to fall in love. Everyone wants a better job. And people get into fights with their sisters and brothers. And we just wanted to show that. And the fact that those people don't look like the people that you normally see. We kind of said, like, we almost like reverse the call sheet. And so the people that would have 3 lines had 100 lines, and the people that had 100 lines had 3. And, you know, that was something we were just gravitating towards stories we loved. And I think if people take away what you took away, then that makes me incredibly happy.
Well, thanks for chatting with us. We will see you next for the big group panel.